Before we start, I'm just going to ask a favor of all of you. Would you please, if you are a prayerful person, just remember some special intentions for a few people in my circle, I'll say, that are going through some tough things today and could use some extra prayers. And of course, just pray for people of Ukraine and even the people of Russia. I'm sure not everybody endorses what's going on right now. And it's heavy. It's weighing on my heart. So if we can just keep some positive thoughts and say some prayers for peace, it's the most we can do. It's the best we can do in our given situation. Happy Friday and welcome to Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. Once again, it's always a pleasure to come on Facebook Live and share some product demonstrations and techniques with you. I think you're really going to like today's cards. I'll be making two different ones. I'm using some new product plus some a new technique that I want to show you. The technique, the result is stunning, but the process is so easy. So I think you're really going to like it. I'm going to flip my camera around now. And while I do that, please share this live video so others can join us this afternoon as well. Okay, and if you saw my post from a couple of days ago, I got a brand new light. So I'm trying to see how it looks on the screen. So this is the first time I'm doing a Facebook Live using that new light, which also requires me to move where I've had my stand for filming. Still is not quite right, is it? I need to come down a little bit. Oh, close. Okay, I'm going to leave it because it's pretty close to where I want it to be. Let me just move these things out of the way because I don't like that distraction up there. Anyways, I am using a brand new bundle that will be available to everyone to purchase beginning March 1st, right? March 1st or March 2nd. I can't remember. I believe it's March 1st. So that's Tuesday. It's called Waves of Inspiration. And it has a wonderful set of dies. Some of them coordinate exactly, and others, of course, are meant to enhance the stamp set. It also has these beautiful jewels. I love these. And if you're into blues and greens, this is your thing. Rhinestone Waves Basic Jewels. There is some designer series paper. And I think they're probably going to show how this was made. Stampin' Up! Will do a video or has done one. I don't think it's released yet. But it looks like waves and just a lot of movement and stuff in the paper. And then a similar, what do I want to say? A similar, not design, but artistic look. I don't know what to call that. On the reverse side, but you'll see lots of different colors in here. There's Coastal Cabana, Night of Navy, Pacific Point, Granny Apple Green, Petal Pink, Calypso Coral. There's some yellow in there too. I'm not sure which yellow that is, but I think most of them would go. I think it might be daffodil, but I'd have to check. So that's the designer series paper. Now on top of this, we also have some specialty paper to go with it, and it's called the blue foils. And it comes in a package of 6, so you're going to get 2 12 by 12 sheets of each of these 3 colors. So there's a very shiny, I'd say Pacific Point to Night of Navy, a dark blue, and then there's a Coastal Cabana, real shiny. I'm trying to get this just right so you can see the colors. There we go, that's a little better. And then there's a matte silver. In the past, we've had shiny silver foil, so this is something different. It's sort of a matte finish to the silver. I also thought this would be fun to use, like if you're die cutting tools, and like the ladder in that one bundle that we have, things like that, because it looks like a steel or metal. So that's another part of that suite. And again, all of those things will be available to customers to purchase on March 1st. And I do need to put the details of that, the cost and the item numbers and things. This, I believe, will be in the annual catalog. I have to check my facts on this because it's been a few days since I read up on it. I should have done it before I jumped on here, but I was playing with my lighting and camera. But this will definitely be in the annual catalog, but I believe the other things are available while supplies last. But I will check that out, and I will note that in the comments after this Facebook Live, as well as when I post it to my blog, so that everybody knows. In addition, we're using a couple other products today. We're using the watercolor paper from our annual catalog. I'm using a spritzer. It's just filled with plain water, also in the annual catalog. And then we are using one of it's the 3rd largest rectangle stitch die. So we have a lot going on today, but you are going to love these cards, I promise you. Now, the first thing you want for this technique is to move all your good paper out of the way. So I've got things here, I'll show you what we're making. I've got all of my paper cut and ready to go. I want to move this way out of the way, okay? So I'm actually putting it on the shelf, hiding it to my left, because I'm going to be spritzing water, and I don't want that good paper that I want for my cards to be getting splashed or spritzed. All right, but this is the card, and I'm going to show you how to make this part of that wave that's splashing. Okay, it's super easy. So the first thing I need is some watercolor paper, and I've cut this to, let me double check, 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. I'm also going to use that large wave stamp, and I've chosen to use Pacific Point, and I have my spritzer that's filled with water. So the first thing I'm going to do is spritz my paper. I don't know what that is. I'm going to spritz my watercolor paper just to kind of dampen it. You don't have to soak it. Okay, you just kind of want to dampen it. And then I'm going to ink up this big old wave stamp. If you'll notice, I'm using the very largest clear block that we have, okay? And because it's so large and it's hard for my hand to fit around that, what I like to do is lay the stamp face up and then press my ink pad onto it. Just see that I have a little blue ink on the top, so I'm going to wipe that so I don't get it on my fingers. Now I'm just going to stamp right onto this moistened watercolor paper. It will kind of lift up a little bit because of the water that's been added, and I'm just going to stamp right down on it. So that's what I have. Now I could leave it like that, let it air dry, use my heat tool to dry it, whatever. However, I want to add a little more excitement to it. So I'm going to take my spritzer filled with plain water once again, and I'm going to spritz it. And I'm trying to spritz from the bottom so that when the ink moves, it kind of moves out and upward. So I'm spritzing at an angle. It's hard for you to see because of where my hand is. And when I feel like that's enough, I just stop. And you can see the more water I add, the more muted the ink looks. I don't know if muted is right, but you don't see all the little details in here the same way. And then you do need a clean paper towel. And I'm just going to very lightly blot up some of that moisture. You don't have to press hard or anything, just lightly dab it until you've picked up most of the excess water. Now I want to do more stamping on this. So before I stamp anything else on this, I want to let this dry really well. If you're in a hurry, yes, you can use your heat tool to hurry up that drying process. But because I'm live, I'm just going to set this up here to the side. And oh, where is it? Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? I have one that I did earlier. Oh, here it is. I had a moment of panic there. So I did this one earlier. So you can see I did the additional stamping on it already. Okay. And if this dries by the end, I'll do the demonstration of this stamping. But what I did to stamp this bird, I don't know what it is. At first I was thinking it's a seagull, but it's not. Is it a, oh, what else did I look up yesterday? Not a crane, but anyways, I colored it to look like a seagull. But what I did was I wanted the posts to look brown. Pelican, yes, pelican. Thank you. But I just took the side of my Stampin' Right marker. This is soft suede, but you can use any color of your choice, of course. And then I also used, well, I thought I used, oh, I was going to tell you I used Smoky Slate, but I'm actually, which I did use Smoky Slate, but I grabbed the basic gray. But again, you make it whatever color you want to. There's nothing wrong with stamping the whole thing in one color. I've got another one prepared for a class to go that I'm going to be offering soon, and I just have people stamp the whole thing in soft suede. But then, I'm gonna huff on it a little bit. So now you see I've got the two colors, and then I can just finish by coloring in that pelican, whatever, and I think there are different kinds of pelicans, so you might color them different ways. But again, use your imagination. It's exactly what you want. And then there's a die that coordinates with this to cut it out, although I chose not to do that for this card. I want to back this on this. Oh, and I should point out here, look at the difference in these. Okay, this one I spritzed a little more than that one. And then look at my sample. Can you see how every one is different? That's one thing I really love about this technique. They all come out different. Every single one is unique. So I want to back this on this pretty blue foil, but I know what you're thinking. Oh, Mary, that's a lot of wasted foil for that tiny little border. So I'm actually going to use my Big Shot now and cut out a stitch rectangle from that. And then we'll use the stitched rectangle that I cut out from the middle for our next card. So that way it's, I don't feel like that foil is going to waste. But I do love to use foil as a mat or a layer behind stamped layers. I'm trying not to use washi tape because I want to use both parts of this for different cards. And because I want even layering all the way around, I want to make sure that this die is centered well. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it will make it much easier to use that frame to mat the stamped watercolor paper on. So this I'm just going to punch out, and I'm actually going to just set it aside with the items I have prepared for the next card. All right, now I'm going to show you a real easy way to add this paper to this foil frame. It's not always easy to adhere when you're using foils, especially when you want to adhere something to the front side. So you want to choose something strong, like maybe the Stampin' Seal Plus. I don't care for the multi-purpose glue so much because it takes a while to dry on there, but you can also use glue dots, and that's what I'm going to use here. So I'm going to take my glue dots and I'm just going to go around the edges of the back side of my watercolor paper. I'm putting one in each corner and then a few along the way. And you want to keep those close to the edge of the watercolor paper because we only have this narrow frame to adhere it to. So it won't do us any good to have our adhesive in the center of that watercolor paper. And that looks pretty good. Now I'm ready to put the rest of our card together. I'm using Whisper White thick cardstock. It's cut 5.5 to 8.5, and it is a scored at 4 1/4. And this was originally going to be my card, but I decided I wanted to use more of that foil. So I cut a piece of the Coastal Cabana foil, and this measures 1.5 by 5.5 inches. 1.5 by 5.5 inches. And I'm going to put this up, about an inch from the bottom of the card. Doesn't have to be perfect. You could put it in the middle if you want, but I wanted mine to be a little off-centered. And then I'm going to add this to the card front with dimensionals. I'm putting one in each corner. It's kind of a large piece, so I'm going to use more than just ones in each corner. I want to definitely put some down the middle and even a little more on the outside. And I want this because the watercolor paper does curl when you're working with it, when you apply water and then when it dries, okay? Oh, Becky, you said you lost me, but you're back. Oh, good. Yes, the glue dots are so helpful when you're working with narrow or small areas. And I'm going to adhere this now. And then the last thing I want to do is add a sentiment. And for this, I'm going to use the sentiment that reads, "Your strength is an inspiration." And let me see here. I'm gonna grab some scrap paper. Actually, I'm gonna cut this down a little bit, and then I can grab my mini machine. But there are a couple of dies, and that is Pacific Point ink. I'm not sure if I said that. Pacific Point ink. Your strength is an inspiration. And then in the Waves dies collection, there are a couple of dies that you can use with some of the sentiments in the Waves of Inspiration stamp set. So I'm going to use that coordinating die to cut out my sentiment. And of course, a die like this, you'll be able to use with so many other stamp sets you have. So I'm sure, I know we have lots of sentiments that would work really well in here. It would also be one that you could cut plain cardstock and use it as a layer, perhaps behind a punched piece, something like that. I feel a little out of sorts with my new light. I love my new light. Best light I've ever had. But having to move my camera position, it's throwing me off a little bit, but I'm sure I'll get used to it. Anything to have optimum lighting in my workspace. And then I'm just ready to add this to my card wherever I want. On this one, I put it basically lined up with the center of that foil that went across underneath. And because I've already used dimensionals, I'm not going to put dimensionals under this. I don't want to raise it up because I think that takes away from the look of the wave there. I don't want it too close to my pelican. So just like that. And then the final part will be, I will add some pretty wave rhinestones. And let's see, I did the medium color before. I'm gonna go for the dark color, I believe. Just like that. So what do you think? What do you think? Okay, so my other piece is nearly dry, but if it feels kind of cold, it's probably still, that means it's still damp. So I'm not going to stamp on this. So this is one of those things, one of those cards that you need to have some patience for. Set it aside, let it dry, and come back to it later. Or if you're making several, do this whole part first, set them all aside, put together the rest of your cards. Or if you're making one, put this aside, let it dry, and move on to a different card. All right, but you need to have some patience and let this dry really well. To me, it still feels damp, moist, so I don't want to stamp the rest of it on here just yet because I don't want these images to spread. All right, so what do you think of the first card? Somebody's going to win this card, so keep that in mind. And then let's make our second card. I'm not going to show you the sample on this one. We're just going to make it. So again, once again, I have a piece of basic white thick cardstock for my card base. Started out being 5.5 by 8.5, measure or scored at 4 1/4 on the long side and folded. This is the piece that I cut out from that foil layer on the first card. This is so nice. I knew I needed to do something with it. Why not use it right away, right? And then I cut a piece of cardstock white to layer behind it. But I also decided I'm going to use all 3 colors of the foil. So I cut 3 strips, 1 of each color, and these measure 3 1/4, I'm sorry, 3/4 by 5.5, 3/4 by 5.5. And I want to add them all. Whoops, flying all over. And I want them centered on my card front, so I'm going to take the center piece. So that's the Coastal Cabana. I pick the color in the middle. And I want that to be pretty much centered across the front of my card. And I'm just gonna eyeball it. You don't have to get down to the exact 16th or something. Usually eyeballing it works. And I'm just making sure I have even space between the strips. That would be pretty, just putting a sentiment on right there, or that pelican on the post. But I'm now going to add that stitched rectangle foil to the white cardstock. I'm going to add this with some dimensionals. I know you're terribly surprised about that, right? Did you guys notice how my nails match? And this is totally by chance. This is so out of the box for me. I don't even know what was into me yesterday. But I decided getting my nails done is one thing I'm treating myself to every week. I work really hard and I don't spend a lot of money. But I thought, I'm going to commit to doing this. So I've been trying out some different colors. Last time I had an orange, but that was because the Bengals were in the Super Bowl. Otherwise, I would not pick orange. Maybe a coral, but not orange. And yesterday, I just went with blue. I have no idea why. And then as I was preparing for this Facebook Live, I thought, you guys are gonna think I chose this blue to match my DSP. Like I carried the DSP into the salon and said, I want something that goes with this. No, that's not the way it is. I do see the world in Stampin' Up! Colors, but I'm not that crazy, okay? All right, for this card, I'm just going to make it generic. I'm not making it with a wave or ocean theme. So I'm going to stamp the sentiment, "You're so totally awesome," with the Pacific Point ink. And I'm going to punch it with my everyday label punch. Simple and sweet. And you could use this for so many different things. It can be a congratulations card. It can be an I love you card. Somebody who needs some encouragement. It could even be for a birthday card. And there is a small happy birthday in the stamp set. I'm going to add this with just 2 dimensionals. The foils are so pretty, aren't they, Vicki? And I'm putting that right in the center. I think that's centered pretty well. Maybe scoot it over just a tad bit. Pull it up lightly. Okay, it's still not quite centered. Okay, I feel better about that. And then I'll add some fun wave rhinestones again. And I'm not sure what shade to go with. I think I'm going to use this shade. It's fun drawing out let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different shades, which is kind of fun. So this kind of picks up that Coastal Cabana color. Oops, there we go. All right, what do you think? Is this something you would make and send? So here are 2 of the cards from today. Again, the featured products are the Waves of Inspiration bundle, great stamp set, 4 great inspiring sentiments, plus a set of Waves dies, the Rhinestone Waves Basic Jewels, all that wonderful designer series paper. Makes you want to go to the beach or something, go to the ocean. And then other colors on the back as well. But I'm sure people can think of ways to use these that aren't just ocean related too. The other thing I thought of when I saw this is it kind of reminded me of seeing like glaciers when we were in Alaska, things like that. This kind of reminds me of like a surf. So really fun. Look at this. Looks like something you could dip a little canvas into, or hard-boiled eggs for Easter eggs, something like that. So really fun. And then of course the blue foils in the 3 different colors. So these products will be available to all of you beginning March 1st. I will put details on in the comments with this Facebook Live, and I will also have them on my blog post and in a newsletter before they go live on the 1st. Alrighty. If you would like to win one of these colors, please type in the comments waves. Don't know what's happening to my voice here. Please, oh, excuse me. Please type in the comments waves of inspiration. All right, waves of inspiration. Anybody who types waves of inspiration in the comments now will have their name put into a drawing to receive one of these 2 cards. All right, one last thought or reminder for you is celebration is ending soon. Celebration ends on Monday, February 28th. Okay, every year I have somebody that contacts me the next day oh, I wanted to get a celebration item and I forgot to put my order in. I can't help you. That's not quite the way it works, okay? So please keep this in mind if you are still wanting to place an order, or if you're still wanting to join my team. You can do that through February 28th. I'm also going to encourage you to not wait till the final hours, because again, every time somebody contacts me or somebody on my team contacts me, they're trying to sign somebody up, or somebody's trying to make an online order and they're having trouble. Sometimes in those last couple hours, the system gets overwhelmed and we don't have support staff working at that time of night. All right. So the earlier in the day you can do it, the better, because if there are any glitches on the 28th that come in that evening, we're very limited to how we can help you. And I don't want you to miss out on getting your free exclusive celebration items with an order, or prevent you from joining when you can choose 2 free additional stamp sets. Okay? Any questions for me on what you saw today, or just Stampin' Up! In general, celebration? I'm going to quickly scroll back through the comments here and see if there were any questions during the demonstration. Oh, lots of you are really liking that technique. And if I had showed you just the card first and said, we're going to learn how to do this, we're going to make this, some of you may have been intimidated by that. Like, Mary, how in the world am I going to make that from this wave stamp? But isn't it an easy technique? Super easy, right? And oh, somebody else said snow-capped. Let's see here. See, Karen, you're right. Snow-capped mountains in that paper too. How cool is that? Okay, I think I don't see any questions that I missed. Alrighty, so again, if you are interested in that watercolor paper and or the spritzer, so you can try this technique, both are very affordable. They are found in the annual catalog, all right, in the annual catalog. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Friday and have a fantastic weekend. And I will look forward to seeing you. Oh, Karen, yes, it would work beautifully with the lighthouse or the boat. You are absolutely right. And isn't it fun to not be limited to just one bundle, but to be able to combine elements of one bundle with other Stampin' Up! Products, other stamp sets, other dies, other paper and sentiments. Yes, I like that whole mixing and matching. I will be back on Monday at 2 p.m. I haven't decided for sure what the project is, because I have a couple good ideas in mind, but no matter what, you're going to love it. I hope you join me then on Stampin' Piece with Mary Knabe, Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.